Efed Podcast, the podcast exploring our fantasy wrestling hobby, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real. I'm your host, Mikey Unlikely, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. And we're back for episode 30. Can you believe it? As they would say in ECW, that's incredible! We're excited to be here, excited to have you listening once again. Guys, this week we're going to throw you a curveball. It is not a complete show, and we apologize for that in advance. What we've got is Mikey, myself. I am moving this week. I'm trying to put a show together. In the meantime, not all of it came together, so what we're going to do is we're going to push the spotlight and the question of the week back to next week. But we do have an interview for you. This is going to be with Justin, the handler of Scott Stevens and Stevenspedia. And we got into all of that and much more. We're going to give you that interview in full. But first, we apologize for the issues. If you want to check us out on Patreon, guys, and support the show, we will be back next week with a full show plus bonus content online on the Patreon, patreon.com/Efed Podcast. Really appreciate you checking it out. If you want to interact with the show, you can find us here on Twitter at the Efed Podcast, or over at efedpodcast.com. Of course, that's the website where you can find all the information and the latest episodes, as well as YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, and more. However you're listening, there are other ways to listen, so check out those avenues as well. Hopefully, we're coming up with some YouTube content here soon once I get the move complete, so I appreciate everybody's patience. I will be in the house here as you are hearing this, so things should be picking back up next week. And now, before we start the interview with Justin, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Defiance, an Angle-Fed boasting 8 years of continuous fantasy wrestling. Defiance offers opportunities for original characters, micros, a standalone website utilizing Backstage 3 script, and a forum hosted on the long-running FWrestling.com, as well as a roster full of some of the most experienced writers in the game. Come see for yourself at DefianceWrestling.com. That's DefianceWrestling.com.
Hey guys, are you digging this podcast? Well, we really appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you check out my other podcast. The Atomic Dropcast is a look back at the wrestling of yesteryear through adult eyes. We watch the wrestling that we watched as kids, as adults, with a couple of beers in our hands. It's a great time. Check it out over at AtomicDropcast.com. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Modern Day Gladiators is a pro wrestling themed print and play game that uses a standard deck of cards and 21 unique wrestlers along with action cards to play out a myriad of matches from one-on-one to tag to in a cage. You can play solo, booking each show, but in this one, you're not going to know how this script's going to play out. You can play in a group, with each person playing as a wrestler, cutting promos, creating segments, which those are going to impact your options when the action inevitably ends up in the ring. To learn more, visit DriveThruRPG and search for Modern Day Gladiators, the best wrestling imaginable.
Hey everybody, it's Mikey. No, we're not back to the show just yet. First, I want to tell you about my Patreon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, am I going to have to pay for the podcast? No. The answer is emphatically no. The show has been and forever will be free. No, Brunk, you will not have to pay for the podcast. However, we have been asked by a handful of people how they can help support the show. And we've also been asked, mostly by Fuzz, why we didn't have a Patreon yet. And I quote, "You stupid I can't believe you don't have a Patreon. I will hurt you if you don't take my money now." End quote. That was Fuzz. He's a scary dude. So with that in mind, you can find us at patreon.com/Efed Podcast. Contributions start as low as $3 a month. Thank you very much for your consideration. Please get Fuzz off our backs. All right, guys, real quick before we get into the interview with Justin, the handler of Scott Stevens. Next week on the show, we're going to make a huge announcement here on the Efed podcast. Get ready. It's going to be exciting. The hype is real. All right, guys, we're back for another week of the interview segment here on the Efed podcast. This week, we're joined by none other than the handler behind the legendary Texan, Scott Stevens, as well as the man behind Stevenspedia, was started as a forum and became a Twitter phenomenon. We got Justin on the show today. Justin, thanks for joining us, buddy. It's been a long time since we got the honor of speaking, other than 5 minutes ago. But it's been a long time, and we've been friends for a long time playing this game together. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing real good. Glad to have you on the show this week. Thanks for taking the time and joining us here.
You know, better late than never, right? I mean, it took a while. I'm like the 30th person. I'm like, needs more Stevens. We'll get you on. 30, podcasts later. Okay, Stevens, I think it's your turn.
I think it's your turn. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
Is when I started the deal, I said, I'm not going to ask my friends to come on. I'm just going to let people ask me to be interviewed. So first come, first serve. Sorry, Stevens, took you this long to jump on the bandwagon.
Hey, it is what it is.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we got you on the show today. We've been fedding since back in the Wrestle UTA days, 2015, 2016-ish. That's the first time I ran into you.
It's been a while. And that, I believe, was the time that UTA and HOW was not seeing eye to eye on certain things, and that's when the exodus, if I'm correct, happened, when a lot of our guys left for UTA.
Yeah, it was crazy times. It was a lot of fun. We'll get into that and much more here on the show. So before we get started, or as we get started, the first question for you is, when did you get into pro wrestling?
Probably late 80s, because I was born in 85, so maybe 89, 90 when I really started to understand what it was and see what it was.
Okay.
So the fun, the kind of like the comedy era of WWF and all that.
The late 80s, the Hogan stuff, the Savage stuff.
I was never a fan of Hogan, but I love Savage. Savage was my guy.
But you were a WWF guy when you found wrestling.
Yes.
Because of just the cartooniness.
Yes. I had been seeing some of the other stuff, that regional stuff my dad was a fan of, but I was a kid. I really didn't know who those people were. They weren't really on TV. But when WWF, was around, it's like, oh, I like that guy. Ooh, I like that guy. Even though it was corny as hell when you look at it now, it was popular. It got people's attention, and I'm hooked.
So who were those guys that got your attention and got you hooked? Well, who were your favorites back then? We're talking 5 years old. Let's try to cover, say, the first couple of years of your fandom.
Savage, without a doubt. I liked the Road Warriors. It's just, I don't know, man. There was so many. It's just, I just think I was a big fan of the face. I never was a Warrior fan.
Okay.
But I think it was just to me, I think what drew me in was all the bright colors and stuff like that. I think that's what drew me in. But as I got older, I started to get away from, the bright colors and the flash and the comedy of it, and started taking it more seriously, like when Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart started coming around.
Yeah, the early 90s when they really got big, yeah. So then throughout the 90s, who were you fans of? I assume you continued to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, yeah. But it kind of shifted. I was still the WWF guy, but then when WCW started picking up steam mid to late 90s, I kind of switched to WCW, and I was more of a WCW fan.
Really?
Yeah.
And who were you digging there? Just because the realism, probably.
Yeah, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Malenko, probably the cruiserweights.
Yeah.
The cruiserweights is what, let's be honest, it was the bread and butter of WCW. And it was a lot of guys that didn't need a lot of flash, didn't need a lot of, personality wise to, they just went in, put on a badass match, and, left you wanting more, honestly.
And so after that, after the cruiserweights, what about up until currently? Who did you get into in the thousands and through the last like 20 years? If you kept up.
So then when the Monday Night Wars were going on, I was watching, and as WWF started, pushing more of their guys, like the mid-card guys, I started to like D'Lo, The Rock.
D'Lo's my boy.
I love D'Lo. I always used him in the WWF Attitude game, and I always played as the Nation. I don't know. I love the Nation.
Same.
I love the Nation. I love The Rock. I didn't like Jeff Jarrett until he became the woman hating person. And then I was a big Jarrett fan when he went to WCW and was the chosen one and all that. I like DDP.
There you go. The People's Champ. The other People's Champ.
The original People's Champ. I love DDP. I know a lot of people don't like DDP, but I like DDP. And, going forward, man, it was just, Edge coming out. Even I liked him when he was the guy who was in the stands,
Yeah, the creepy guy.
Yeah, the stalker, the guy who ran around, as he put it, what was it, New York with the trench coat too small?
Yep, and he was yelling it in the streets and all that.
It looked like a homeless man. But and going forward, like right now, I love Seth Rollins, I love Daniel Bryan, but those guys are kind of on the way out. I mean, who knows how long Bryan's going to last? Rollins, who knows how long he's going to be around? I know they're still young, but Yeah,
DB is pretty beat up, but I could see Rollins being around for quite some time. I think he's the new face of the company.
Yeah. I also like Brock Lesnar. That's probably not a popular deal, but I do like Brock Lesnar.
Amazing. I love Brock Lesnar.
Because, I mean, legitimately, who could whoop his ass? There's not a lot of people who could, like, legitimately whoop his ass. Maybe Ming or Haku, but
it's a short list, so
it is a very short list.
Him as the world champion is very believable.
It is. Also, like, but also during this time, like right now, I like NXT. WWE, Vince McMahon, the way he's been pushing people is turned me off. I know a lot of people say that, but it's definitely turned me off. The only shows I watch really is NXT, AEW, NWA when it's on, and I try to catch clips of New Japan.
There you go.
Because that's got my attention.
That's a great mixture of different stuff right now. So basically, you've been watching the AEW stuff recently and NWA. I've been loving NWA Power.
Oh, man.
It's so good.
Aaron Stevens or, Damian Sandow, for the people who don't know who it is, it's Damian Sandow.
Yep.
But, him and his whole thing is awesome.
Yes. Karate. Yes.
No. I know.
Yeah, it's so good. That's good. AEW, I checked out the pay-per-view last night. It was a lot of fun. Really good show. Definitely worth people checking out. I thought it was better than WrestleMania.
I need to find like a site that has the full show so I can watch it. But I will say this, that I heard who won the TNT title. I was not happy with that result. It should have been the other way around. Because to be honest, I mean, in just my opinion, you build up Lance Archer all that much, and then you have him lose.
Yep.
You should have had him destroy Cody, have Cody chase it for about 3-4 months, and then beat him.
Here we go, Booker Stevens on the show.
I mean, it's just, maybe I'm old school, but I mean, that would have been the right result.
Well, let's move on to e-wrestling since we're fantasy booking already. How did you find the wonderful world of e-wrestling?
As a wrestling fan, AOL was the big thing. AOL just exploded. And back in the old AOL chats, and there was a guy saying, join my Fed. You can be whatever wrestler, your favorite wrestler, just join. And this is what I'm like, okay. So I joined it and I'm like, oh, so I can be The Rock. I can be, whoever. And basically it took on a life of its own because a lot of people don't know the story. It's my friends do because they broke into Efed with me because I introduced them. But Scott Stevens was created in the old, WWF Warzone, WWF Attitude, and I've carried him on. He was a creator wrestler.
Okay.
And he was called Scorpion.
Okay.
So I took him from Scorpion to this first Fed, and they're like, oh, he's the Mortal Kombat character. And I go, no, he's not the Mortal Kombat character. And that's how it all started. I joined this Fed, and as quickly as their tournament ended, I got fired without even having a single role play, because I don't know what the deal was, but they said elite RPers were like guys that wrote paragraphs. Okay. I mean, they're literally their RPs were paragraphs. Now, I'm not saying mine was the greatest in the world. Mine was 2 sentences, and in fact, I still have that RP. I found it on an old saved drive on my old computer, and I printed it out and still have it to this day, just to go, damn, how shitty was that when I thought it was cool. And it was the old, your theme music plays, you walk to the ring, you blah, blah, you cut your little promo and you head to the back. That was the whole thing.
It's everybody's first promo. That's all they know is I'm going to come to do an in-ring promo.
Yep.
So what did you get kicked out of the Fed for?
The Fed was like 50 people. 50 people joined, and they wanted to kind of trim it down to
reasonable number.
Like 30. Basically, it was if you were new or they didn't know you were gone.
Yeah. So where did you go from there? So obviously, what we're going to find out is that you carried your primary character from the beginning all the way till today.
Oh yeah, Scorpion, Scott Stevens. It's the same character. He's just evolved, sort of, through the years. I mean, he's still the same guy. He's had different variations depending on what was popular. I mean, me and my friends bounced around because, back in those days it was the cliques. If a buddy opened up a Fed, all his friends would join. If he couldn't run it or their friends didn't want to run it, they'd shut it down, open up another one, and then whoever's running, their friends would join so they didn't have to do that. So me and my friends bounced around from whatever Fed was popular or that we heard of that was, reasonable, that we liked. And, it's just different things, man. Like Stevens, I ripped off the Ministry as a group in this one place called New Mog Wrestling. But I was a straight brawler, hardcore wrestler because all things right then had to be extreme. Everything was either extreme this, extreme that, either with the E or just the X. Everything was hardcore.
Everything, yes.
In the title.
With a K or a C.
Exactly. I even had a wrestler that I created in the Attitude based on the hardcore voiceover called Hardcore as a member of as a acolyte of the Ministry of Darkness.
Wow. So those Feds, where did you go from there with Stevens or with the Scorpion? When did you first hit a good Fed?
It was called New Mog Wrestling.
Okay.
It was run by a group named, maybe some people have heard of them, maybe not. I don't know. They were kind of popular back in the day, like Frank Apollo, Timothy St. Clair, Ron Hood, Scott Cinderwood, or something like that. And they were also Dave Dexter. Some people have heard of them. I know people have heard of his name. They were all like that. That was their clique. Frank Apollo was running New Mog Wrestling at the time, and it lasted close to a year. And what happened was we left that Fed because he couldn't run it anymore. He didn't have time. He could RP, but he didn't have time to do both. Okay. So he left it to his VP, his second in charge, that was like a friend of his, and
you guys were out.
We were going to stay. But what he did was he had a ton of secondary characters, like a lot of us do. And he literally stripped every champion of the titles and top contenderships and gave them all to his guys. I'm not bullshitting you. He said, and the champions didn't lose. I can understand if you had a a card and lost. No, he just said in a news post, all these guys are stripped. I'm handing it to The Rock or whoever. Everybody said, well, basically, fuck you. We're going over here because the guy who handles Dave Dexter started Full Throttle Wrestling, and we went there.
Okay.
Basically, that place lasted about 6 to 8 months because of, not the same thing, but, real life, the guy was going, in high school.
Sure.
But I was their first and last champion, and I had no intention of becoming the world champion because how that happened was it was the pay-per-view card. He goes, sign up for a match, and whatever title you want, you'll get a match. And there was about 5 other people that went ahead of me, and none of them picked the world title. So I'm like, I don't know if they didn't want to just seem greedy or what, but I said, well, fuck it,
That's the one I want.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not the first to reply, but no one else seems to want it, so why not?
No doubt. And you said you won that world title?
I won it, and I held it for about 2 months, and how I lost it is still funny, but Frank Apollo came, big intro, everything, he's, the Lance Mikes of UTA. He's coming, he's back. But the difference between Lance Mikes and Frank Apollo, people knew who the fuck Frank Apollo was.
There you go.
So he goes, I'm just going to face the entire FTW roster. Champions included everybody. So he ran a gauntlet match. Even though he lost some of the matches in the gauntlet match, he's still in the match. I'm the last guy. He beats me, and I lose the title.
Oh, of course.
But a few months later, I win it back as the special guest referee when I count my own pinfall. Basically, Apollo school-wise had to, dip out, and my buddy and who was also in the match, and the other guy tied from scores.
Okay.
Thing is, my buddy was, whatever y'all decide, it's fine. He didn't really care. He was just there to hang out with us, and just, have a good time. The other guy wasn't having it. He said he should have won the fucking battle royal, should have been the number 1 contender by himself, and blah, blah, blah. He was saying it was fucking rigged. So what happened was, he takes he went by Sephiroth. If you don't know, it's the Final Fantasy character boss. He takes out my buddy in the match, and then he goes to take out Frank Apollo, but I give him the toxic sting, pin him, and I count my own 3, and then the Dave goes, it's official. He's the champion. So, I mean, it's just like, they say politics and, people whine and complain. This was back in 98, 99, and some dude was bitching and moaning, and I'm probably I graduated in 03. I don't know, 90, and you're still a teenager.
Yeah.
And some dude's probably pissing him, he's pissing and moaning about that. I mean, fake pretend wrestling. It took me a while because I did that too, but it took a while.
No doubt. So what's the next major step for Scorpion/Stevens?
After that, the Fed shut down. But they opened up. It was still the same group of people where we went to a place called NAW. It was the second iteration of NAW. It was called New Age Wrestling. And we all were there. We actually had very, very good careers there. I was champion. My other buddies didn't get, they were close. They were always top contenders, but none of my buddies have ever won a world title. They've never taken that, they've always been a top contender, but they've never won it. I've won it plenty of times. I became a Hall of Famer. My buddy Kyle became a Hall of Famer because of his longevity and his domination of all the lower level titles. That shut down for a while. It came back briefly, probably about 6 months later, lasted about 6 months. I won the title, and this is when I was starting to get burnout. It was leading to that. My material sucked. It really did.
And how old are you at this point?
15, maybe.
Wow.
Going on 16.
So you were doing the high school thing too.
Yeah. And it was just burnout because, people tend to forget these old feds had a card like 3 days a week, 4 days a week. It wasn't just like, like HOW is now where it's one a week. They were like 3 or 4, and you were booked on 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3. And you were riding, 2 RPs just for a basic match, and a championship match was 3.
It's madness.
It is.
I can't do that.
I just think I was hitting a wall. I mean, I won the title 3 more times.
It's a hell of a run, though.
I think it was just the competition, man. It was, my riding was sucking, and then the quality in the second version of it compared to the third was not the same. There was a lot of names that were similar, but there was a lot of newbies, and they weren't as good. And I'm talking about if my shit was bad, how bad was theirs? So I may have been a 5-time world champion, throughout the 2 spans, but it's just not the same. And plus, if you want to talk about, these politicking assholes, wearing you down, it does wear you down because, I put it in, you asked a Efed question, a few weeks ago, I believe, and I told you 2 different times, we went to a Fed where they purposely changed the rules to hurt me and my buddies. Not maliciously, but we were better than their guys.
Their friends.
They were still doing the walk to the ring promo, cut it, walk back. Well, I was at the Stevens Mansion, or I was on vacation doing something. They said, well, you can't do that. They said, if you want to do a promo like that, it has to be in the same city, and you have to do historical references. Say, if you're in San Antonio, you could do it from the Alamo or do it outside the arena. And I'm just like, no. And then they said, Mr. Gary Oakston, you can't be a rich snob heel anymore. We already got a guy like that. And he's like, what? And my buddy Kyle, who is hilarious. I've always tried to get my buddies back because, even if it's just for a short run, because they are good. Their writing is good. It's just, they're busy. Kyle is just naturally hilarious. He will take something and he's not as as bad as Mike, but Mike will take something and turn it funny. So will Kyle. Like, if you put something in your RP, to me, that's
fair game.
Fair game. Everybody can use it. Well, he made fun of it. He goes, okay. He made a joke. His whole RP was a satire of whatever it was. And it was like he was like at a play watching this, and he was directing it, making it goes, yeah, okay, thank you, and blah, blah, blah. The guy complained to the Fed head. My buddy gets suspended for 30 days. I'm like, that's stupid. And, my other buddy is restricted because he's a hardcore guy. And they said, oh, we have too many hardcore guys. And my guy goes, well, my guy he's not just hardcore. He's hardcore, and he's delusional based on PTSD. He's supposed to be his name was AWOL, away without leave. He was a former soldier and this and that, but he was delusional based on that. They're like, oh, it's too similar. I'm like, he's like, where's these other soldiers that are like that? Oh, well, you're arguing with us. You're suspended too.
Quickly, you realize, they're just if you're not going to work their way, you're not going to work it out.
They quit, but they didn't. They didn't tell me, but they said they were going to. They just quit at one. At the same time, I quit the next day. Because I was, when they quit, I guess they did it late. And the Fed head hits me up and goes, yeah, we heard, your friends quit and all this, but are you staying with us? I'm like, no. I said, why would I stay with the Fed that wants to penalize, us or not give us a fair chance? I said, nah, I'm gone. I'm good. It was just, that's what burnt me out, man. It was, the stupid shit like that. It was the games, the backstabbing. It's like you tell somebody one thing, they go spread it out and twist it. And it was just like the 4 or 5 cards a week. And it's just, come on, man. It's just too much, especially when you have a real life going on.
Yeah. And you're in a weird place in high school and trying to hang out with your friends and trying to play with your friends. I definitely get all that. So going on through, what did you continue on the game from there?
I kept up with it, but I was I was retired. I was
pretty much burnout and done.
I did, I kind of got an itch here and there, but I was like, no. I was watching things, I kind of my buddies kind of brought me back in, but I was done.
Half-hearted, yeah.
It was late 01, 02. There was 01 going into 02. My buddies, the same group that I usually roll with, they went in, they were rejuvenated, they were dominating, but they went in as a tag team.
Okay.
They didn't go in as a singles wrestlers like we usually do. I came in because they're like, yeah, man, Fed seems good. There's no bullshit. And it was a very good Fed. It was the one I post all the time on Wikipedia, and people ring me for the real wrestlers being on it in the early years, but, the Icon Wrestling Federation. But, they came in, they were a dominant tag team better than you. And they were better than everyone else because everybody they fought, they beat. My buddies as a tag team have never been beat. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but it's proven they've been in multiple different Feds. When Kyle Driver and Lance Sheridan team up, they have not been beaten. They've won tag teams, and the only reason why they lost them is because they gave them up because real life happened. And during that time, I was brought in. I was not into it. I was, I thought the same stuff that made me a great world champion in the past was going to work. Nope, it didn't work. But that kind of, things like that when you're losing constantly, you kind of get bummed out on yourself and you're just like,
yeah,
why am I still doing this? So it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to unplug, as Lee Best says, all the time. I'm unplugging and not doing it. And I hadn't been doing that. But I was aware of it. I was watching Feds from the shadows and stuff like that, just because I love the hobby. I really do.
Okay.
So going to about 2010, 010 is when I kind of got the major itch back, because a lot of people have heard of the TEW games or the EWR simulation.
Yes. Great.
There is a forum on Adam Ryland has a forum called Grey Dogs. Well, he also developed an earlier game called like Fighting Spirit or something like that, where it was like a simulation wrestling game. I mean, it was like punch, kick, hits a DDT and stuff. It was like a simulation. You put the two characters in, you build stats up. Well, there was a guy on there called Shadow Phoenix. That was his board name, and he did this, but he made it seem like it was an actual Fed. So he was doing it just for fun, and we had like seasons, and we had like tournament style, soccer style, to crown champions and tag champions.
Wow.
Yeah, you had to your record is what determined your spots in the playoffs. So it was different. It was pretty cool, and he would have it like as a TV show. We were tour, so I would be. I was like, oh man, this sounds pretty cool. And I would do like little blurbs, like a paragraph, just to do writing. And, because Stevens was the most hated man in the thing, because I was lashing out at everybody and saying I could whip your ass and blah, blah, blah. And, that got other people to respond to it. It made it more lively. And that is actually when I got the itch back, man. That's when it ignited. Someone from that thing started Legacy Pro Wrestling, and when he said that, he goes, I'm starting a Fed. Do you want to join? I said, yeah, sure. So I joined. A bunch of other people from that game joined as well, but the most notable name that joined that people know is Steve Solex.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Solex, a member of High Octane Wrestling today.
You gotta love Solex. He didn't I don't think he did the original graphics. I think it was still Mason, the guy who started the Fed. I think he did the graphics, or it was Solex. I'm not sure, but that's how I got introduced to Steve Solex. And through my time with LPW is when I caught the attention of HOW.
Yes.
And for the people who don't know, I was not the crown jewel of Lee Best's eyes. He thought I was not fit for HOW.
And why is that?
I don't know. I don't know, because at the time Solex was the champion, but real life takes over. I became the champion after that, and he was always trying to he was recruiting Solex to come in HOW. And the reason why I caught, I guess, his eye It's because back when we did cross promotions, the first Fed I went into was Bottom Line.
Okay.
And this is when HOW had 10 RP limits.
10 RPs.
10 RPs was the limit.
For what kind of shows? Weekly shows?
Pay-per-view.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, think about War Games with 10 RPs. Now
No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks, Lee.
That's what turned a lot of people off was the RP limits. Before that, there was no limits. Before I joined, there was no limits. They knocked it down to 10, and I was facing Chance Von Crank.
There you go.
CVC, the trailer, the master of the pullout, the trailer park brother, and the razzle dazzle, whatever, how many nicknames he has. So I put up 10 to his 2. I handily beat him because, my RPs, they weren't just small RPs. They were like 3,000, 4,000 word RPs each.
Yes.
And, that caused Chance to rage quit, HOW. He's saying the victory was rigged, and I'm just like, dude, it was 10-2. I'm not saying it's quantity over quality, but still, it's 10-2. And my RPs weren't exactly 1,000. I can understand if I wrote 10,000 words, but mine were like pushing 3,000 to 4,000 each. So it just varies. But his RPs weren't that good anyway. And his RPs, if I recall, were like him getting some chick pregnant, and then the second RP is him getting like a coat hanger lightning and tell her to stick it up her vagina to abort the baby and shit like that. It's like, what the fuck am I reading? And yes, HOW was weird back in the day. We had no shame. I know we look on it now and kind of like, did we need to really do that? But it is what it is. It's part of the history. It is. But, I think when I put up the 10, I think America was there helping grade. He goes, ooh, this dude put up 10, because he sent me a message going, hey, do you want to join, HOW? And I turned him down. I really did, because I was loyal to LPW. And I go, and then they go, well, no, you don't have to join, exclusively. We're still doing the joint deal. You can have LPW as your primary company, and then we'll book you in, HOW when you can. So that's how I really got my start in HOW, was through the co-promotions of, LPW and HOW.
Interesting. And you're still rocking the same character this whole time.
Yes.
That's incredible. I know I've changed a lot. A lot of people change all the time, especially in the early years, and you've just been rocking one guy.
It's a lot of people up until this point, I've debated, actually retiring, because, you get kind of stagnant with your character, you try to reinvent him. It doesn't work, and you get kind of bummed out. But it's kind of like, I'm married. I have a son. I got promotions at work. I became the head football coach from, the 7th grade. It's just different things like that. It was just, do I really have the time? And when HOW came back, I was like, do I have the time? And I was like, yeah, I have the time, because it was bi-weekly. And then, but since the RPs are still low, one a week's doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 a week for a championship, that's doable. But like if it was back, 5, 7, I've been through every RP limit HOW's had, and it's, but it's just like now I was debating whether because I'm not taking away. To me, this is some of the best talent, and I was just like, should I retire? Just do staff full time, because I enjoy doing the stats, the pedia stuff, the history stuff. I enjoy doing that. But it's just like, I didn't want to delude like if I win or lose, I really don't care. I honestly don't.
Yep.
But it's like I don't want to go up against, say, you and just put up shit. I want to go into a match and be like, I'm going to win this week. But lately, since the new era and stuff, it's like, well, if I put this up, can I win this week? It's not, oh, I'm going to win this week. It's kind of like I'm not confident in my writing lately. You know what I mean?
It's probably another case of burnout. After all these years, you don't have something to write about. You need to.
I need to find my direction. Exactly.
Yep. Exactly. And that's happened to all of us.
And some people like Max or Mike and other people. It's just, or hell, even Steve Solex. I love the number one dad. It's a huge 180 from the character he had in LPW. But some people it comes easy. But with Stevens, it's been hard because in HOW he's been perceived as one way, and if you try something else, it's like, people don't take it seriously. So it's kind of like, well, what do I need? You know what I mean? I need to, what I brought him to the table with is the Texas badass, but how do I find that thing back to it? And once I do, maybe I'll start getting confidence again, I guess, in my writing. I mean, I enjoy the writing and stuff, but like, as the competitive, be like, this is it. This RP, this can beat Max Kill. This can beat Mike Best. Oh, this can definitely beat Andy Murray. It's just, there's so much talent in HOW right now. It's
insane.
It is. This is like, and I'm not just saying that, but I mean, Andy Murray, you, Kendricks, Mike, Max, Colin, everybody. It's like everybody's game has been raised, and I'm just like, damn, there's just so many good writers. I mean, it's just hard to keep up. You know what I mean?
You just need find that direction, and sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you just need that one storyline, that one moment of clarity where it's just, oh, there it is. I've got an idea. Let me run with this. Yep. And you just write and write and write.
And I think that's part of the, behind the scenes, that's what the benching's for. I've been helping out backstage with the stuff, like a lot of other people. I do the stats, Lee, I write matches. I've been more hands-on with staff duties recently than in the previous years. And, I've been, I've talked to Lee about, the direction. He goes, I agree. He goes, you either need to retire full time and be staff, or you need to take an extended break. And I see, as I get harped on for losing to Hollywood and being sit out of War Games, because War Games is my favorite event out of HOW. But it was kind of like a blessing because, it gives me time to, think and just relax and take the extended time, or come back at all. Who knows? But when I do come back, hopefully I'm better.
There you go. And I don't think you're bad, by the way. That's not what I was trying to get at.
No, yeah.
I'm not saying you need a break. I'm saying sometimes you just need some inspiration.
Oh, exactly. In me seeing that and me talking to him and talking to other characters, I've talked to, when I was in my Lonesome Loser era, the difference between now and then is, yes, when I was called the Lonesome Loser, I was losing every match, but it wasn't that bad. I was still actively competing, and everything I put up, I was like very confident in. And when I heard the score, I'm like, oh, that's not bad. But like compared to this and now, it's like very different now.
So talk to us about what your time in high octane wrestling overall has meant to you.
Well, it just depends on the day. It just depends on the day. Lee Best gets a bad rap. Mike Best gets a bad rap. A lot of HOW people get a bad rap. But you know what? Unless you're in HOW, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You really don't. Because if I need Mike, he'll chat with me. If I need Lee, he'll chat with me. Anybody else, I'm chatting with them. They got my back. They're honest with me. It's just, I guess people don't like HOW because they're blunt. They tell you like it is. If they tell you suck, you probably fucking suck. Lee Best tells me I suck all the time. He does. He goes, that shit you wrote, that's stupid. Don't do it.
And we all know you suck.
Exactly. But the thing is, they're honest. Since day one, they've been honest. And the scores are legit. When he RP, whether you agree with it or not, the scoring system is fair. You can say it's rigged. You can say it's this or that. It ain't. It's the furthest from the truth. This ain't like these other feds who change, like Boardwalk. Yeah, like Boardwalk, who changed results with the guy I'm talking about to give their buddies more time so the Hollywood Bruvs could lose.
Right? Bullshit.
Michael Pettis. They also, HOW and 4CW, because, Perry Wallace gets a bad rap, but I love Perry. I have no issues with Perry. Perry's a good dude. Me and Perry go back and forth all the time. But here's the difference between, Perry Wallace, HOW, 4CW, and Lee Best. They don't put up with people's shit. And a lot of people that have issues with people like that didn't get their way and they left. Then they badmouth.
Where's that? You talking about 4CW or High Octane?
No. Like, Lee doesn't put up with nobody's shit. Lee's the boss. Perry doesn't put up with people's shit. He's the boss. There's a lot of people that their cliques try to push over people like Michael Pettis and run that site, like Boardwalk. But a lot of the people that were, pushing Mike Pettis around, they came from 4CW because Perry pushed them out, and vice versa. I mean, there's a lot of people that have come through HOW, but they don't stay. There's a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people come in HOW and they don't last. Like Max Stryker, I'm the best wrestler in the world, loses one match and he disappears. There's been a lot of people like that. I've been in HOW since 2012. Long time. There's Scotty.
A lot of big names can't take a loss.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, hell, Scotty's been there since 08. Mike's been there since 09. Max has been there even longer. If Lee Best and HOW was so bad, why is Chris Kostoff, who's been in there since 02, still coming back? Or Jat Starr, or all these other people that are in the Hall of Fame from the quote unquote we call the golden era. I mean, Kostoff is the guy who started with Lee Best and is still there to this day from 02. And it's
incredible.
Almost 2021. I mean,
it's insane.
It is.
The high octane legacy is pretty incredible. It's been around so long.
It is. And a lot of feds can't say that. And yes, HOW is shut down. There's different eras and we brand them different eras. But, the era I was in started in 08 and it ended in 16. The new era started in 19. It's about to be, we're in 20 going on 21. I mean, it could end tomorrow. Who knows? But still, it's still going. I mean, most feds don't last 4 months, much less a month.
It's a Fed that has a legacy. It's always been known as one of the top tier Feds, whether you liked them or disliked them. You always knew that they had a lot of talent, and you always knew that the people there were going to give you some shit.
Yeah,
let's put it that way on Twitter,
man,
and that's fine.
Yeah,
and
y'all give me shit, but it's nothing but love.
Once I jumped into the Fed, I realized it's not the same way it looks on the outside.
Yeah. Dude,
it's incredible.
I've been trying to recruit you for years to come, and you're just and I'm sure one of the things that turned you off was the RP limits. That's what turned a lot of people off. That I tried to, or go, hey, come to HOW, it's not what you think. But they're like, it's 5 RPs, 7 RPs. I just don't have time for that. I'm like, okay, I respect that. But yeah, man, HOW as a whole has been good. Now I've had some sour moments that I disagreed with, and there was a one time, they're like, oh, we can do the running joke was Stevens can't quit. We can do anything to Stevens and he won't quit. But the incident with the most people probably forgot about it or just hearing about it, the bloody tampon.
Okay.
Yeah. Most people probably saw the YouTube video where the wrestler took out a bloody tampon and put it down in the person's.
Yes.
This happened in HOW years before.
And it happened to Stevens.
Yes, it did. I was not told of this. I was not made aware of this. I believe Jace Parker Davison wrote the match, and when he was told to write that, I think his response was, Steven's going to quit fucking tonight. And I think Lee goes, nah, he ain't going to quit. Basically, he did it to give me ammo, and I'm like, there's nothing you can do to, when I read that, they had to basically talk me from quitting. Mike and Jace and Scotty, and they're basically like, they had to like, they basically had to, pull me away from the cliff, so to speak.
I can only imagine. That's all right. I was in a Fed where as soon as I quit, they killed my character in an RP. So Mikey Unlikely the Zombie lives to this day.
Wait, were you killed by Noah Hansen?
No, I was not.
Love you, Noah. You had that coming.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about Defiance Wrestling.
Okay.
How did you get hooked up with Defiance? Or no, let's go back further. Let's talk about Wrestle UTA.
Okay.
How did you get hooked up with Wrestle UTA and talk about your run there?
Okay. Wrestle UTA, I've known Ben, Ben I got to know through the dealings with HOW and other contacts, the whores, his radio shows, but I was not competing there. I think I first came in, it was like some kind of tournament, and it was just going to be a one-off, just a tournament, and I believe this was back in 2015, right?
The Ring King tournament?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. But I also think this was also during the whatever happened in HOW where it caused the disagreement. I'll just say that the miscommunication, the disagreement, whatever happened that caused like Townsend, Witness, Mike, Colin, who else? Sector, yourself. Well, I was still in HOW full time. I didn't quit, or I didn't just up and leave. I was still in HOW, but I wanted to do the tournament because I had no ill will with them. What happened with them and Lee or whoever else was involved did not, I
did not include you.
Yeah. I was still cool with everybody. And the Ring King tournament was going on, so I joined. Oh, and I got an earful for that. I did. I got an earful. It was like, Lee. Sometimes Lee goes off the rails, but he does it in a way, in like a protective, like a dad way. He's like, "What the fuck you doing? Why are you doing this? We're not getting along with them," and blah blah blah. I'm just like, that doesn't, it wasn't affecting me. He goes, "Well, you can do it, but it better not affect what your stuff in HOW. HOW comes first." I said, "That's fine." He said, "Okay." And then he goes, "That's fine, dickhead." Yeah, he calls everybody dickhead. It's yep. It's his phrase,
term of endearment.
Yeah. So I did that, and let's be honest. I mean, put the shit out there. My run in UTA was not good. It wasn't. It sucked.
That's where I got to know you, though, and that's where we got to know Scoot Stuvens.
Yep. I mean, even though my character didn't have a very successful run, I just was there because my friends were there.
Yep.
My buddies, Ben was there, my Mike and everybody that I knew since 2012 were there. And I got to meet you, Kendricks, and it just took off. I mean, I was like, man, these guys sound pretty cool, and it's just that I don't care if you have beef with Mike, okay, fine. That ain't gonna, just because you hate HOW, okay, fine, whatever. It has nothing to do with me. If you want to be a dick to me because I'm associated with them, okay, fine.
Now it involves you.
Now it involves me. And that's like some people, like HOW sucks and I'm going to block every member. Okay, but I didn't do nothing to you. Scott Stevens is a pedophile or whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't do anything to you. It's just, people will go off on, different groups because they're associated with people, and it's just like those are the people that are like the Mad Clan or whoever else, it's just them. The people that rage quit every Fed because they don't get their way and bitch and complain is the people that quote unquote have no business in this hobby.
Quote unquote.
Well, people relate that to Colin, but Colin to me has a place in this hobby.
No. It was Murr. It was Jeremy at Murr. Yeah.
Oh.
You've got no place in this hobby. Maybe it was Colin. I don't know.
I think it was Colin. Well, if it was Murray, fuck Andy Murray. And especially fuck Gil Murray, too. Love you, Andy.
Amazing. So your time in Wrestle UTA was not your favorite, but you had a blast. You got to know some good people and got to hang out with some friends.
I mean, and that's what it is, man. This hobby, the reason why I'm still in HOW, the reason why I'm still talking to you, that I met you in real life, if you came down to Houston again and said, hey, hit me up for, beer and come to the house or whatever, I'm like, hell yeah. If you're in, Ohio, come up and blah, blah, blah. It's just, you're a cool dude. I would want to hang out with you. A lot of the people in HOW are cool dudes. And me and Lee were supposed to hook up when he was down here, but work prevented that. If Scotty was going to be coming through here, but they went around the wrong way, they didn't leave to go to New Orleans until later. I'm just like, that doesn't work. So, I mean, there's been different people that have been trying to hook up. When Ben was still living here, we tried to hook up because he was in Garland, I believe, and my wife has family in Dallas, and I was thinking about maybe hooking up, but I don't know. It just hasn't worked out. But if I was in the area, I'd be like, hey, Mikey, I'm in the area. Hey, Lee, I'm in the area. Let's hook up. Let's hang out.
Absolutely. And it's been great for me getting the chance. I was doing traveling sales for a long time and doing some stuff on the road, and I got to hang out with some wrestlers on the road and hit you up while I was coming to Houston. And man, I barely knew you. We met in UTA. We were in Defiance together, I think, at the time. But we had talked a few times. But I said, hey, let's just meet up in somewhere public. Let's grab a beer and have a good time. And we did.
Yep, we met up at Hooters. The future Mrs. Stevens, who was my girlfriend at the time, you met her.
Pretty cool. That now, I check out your Instagram photos or you post a picture where your wife is wearing a Hollywood Bruvs t-shirt, and it's like that's my guy.
Yep.
It's good shit though. So talk about Defiance Wrestling and your time in Defiance and on the Angle side of things.
Okay, I'll say this: hybrid feds. There's no place in the hobby. There really isn't. Mike says it best, but it's basically the guy who wants the correct deal, but the RP scores didn't clarify, so they switch. I mean, if you're going to do angle, do angle. If you're going to do RP. Don't do both. It's just not going to end well for people. I had no, I don't know. The reason why I joined Defiance was because of the people who ran it. You were there, Kendricks, Brian, who I haven't really met, but I knew who he was. It was like a whole new takeover. It's basically the people who ran UTA or the people who were heavily involved in running things in UTA were now running Defiance. It wasn't, and no offense to Justin, I really don't know him that well, but, like Lee or Perry or other people, Justin rubs people the wrong way. Yep. A lot of people don't like Justin, and he's turned a lot of people away. But, I think with the new regime that took it over, they weren't judgmental on who was coming in. Oh, you're from HOW? You can't come in. Oh, you're from Boardwalk? Oh, no, you can't come in. You're from where? Oh, no, you can't come in either. They were accepting, and especially when I came in, this was when I had the reputation of the whole, Control V thing. Yeah.
Well, we'll hit that real quick, but let's continue on with Defiance first.
And with that, it was just I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I was still with UTA, but we when you said we're going to Defiance, I said, yeah, I can do this. And it just makes it easy, because I love feuding with you because we get along. Seth is awesome. If no one knows who Seth is, you need to get to know Seth. Seth is a good dude. It's just easy to communicate, easy to plan out everything. And, it's basically, who do you want to go over? who should go over. And
Yeah. If you tell a good enough story with someone, it's usually pretty obvious who should go over.
And it was just fun. I still get reamed a little bit, because HOW and Defiance have a bad history, but that's in the past. But Max's Twitter, but it's all in character. But my time in Defiance has been fun because of the people in charge, the people who's there, the people I know are there. And because of the people who are there now, other people are coming in because it's familiar names. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And yeah, it's a great Fed. And if you're not checking it out, check it out at defiancewrestling.com. And while we're at it, let's plug HOWrestling.com.
Yes.
They're very easy websites to remember, guys. Defiance Wrestling and HO Wrestling. How hard is that? Okay, so let's hit the Control V Scott Stevens moment. There was was it a match or a role play?
It was a match. It was both.
It was a match?
It was both. It was a RP, and it was a match too. It was a title match.
So what had happened is you had been caught plagiarizing your own stuff.
Yep.
From back in the day. And we've all been there. We've probably all done it. You were just caught doing it.
By Jono.
And
CBR.
And we never let you live it down again.
Nope. That's where Scoot Stevens and the whole thing, the Hulk came up. Yeah.
Yolk.
Basically, and there's also some funny stuff to it too. The RP.
Oh, it's all funny.
The RP that I wrote that for originally was against CBR in UTA, and it was the blindfold match. I lost. Okay. Well.
Okay.
I used the template. It was basically the same thing, same setting, same everything, but the words were different. The actions were the same. Basically, it was basically the same thing, but I just changed a lot of the dialogue around.
Okay.
But everything else was virtually identical. And I was facing CJ O'Donnell. And CJ, for those that know CJ, know what I'm talking about. CJ, I have no love lost for CJ. CJ brought it all upon himself. During the time CJ was, I guess he was new to the hobby, but got through very quickly in Boardwalk. I mean, I'm not saying there's not talented people in Boardwalk, but different, he was staff, let's just say that. Maybe he didn't deserve some of the accolades he had. But he was full of himself. This is the kind of guy who said to break his arm in a match if he lost, and then tried to no sell it the next week. And lo and behold, who broke his arm? Scott Stevens. So he was trying to no sell the arm break, and I go, dude, I just broke your arm. Oh, it never happened. It's on television. Go to High Octane Television. You can see the replay. He was trying to no sell it on Twitter and everything. So I said, you know what? If you're so good that you can beat me, put your title on the line, the internet title, and we can face each other. He goes, okay, I'll face you in Boardwalk. I said, nah, I ain't facing you in Boardwalk. He goes, well, I ain't going to How. I said, I don't want you to go to How. I said, we can go to UTA or 4CW. I said, and then he tried to back up. Nah, I'm good. If it ain't a board, I said, now you're going to puss out on this and that. So what happened was,
if he can't get his judge.
Exactly. So Perry agrees to do it. So my first RP is totally original. He responds back, and I was like, damn, that's not a bad RP. He's actually, coming with some fire. And this is my own fault. I was procrastinating. I was putting things off. I had to do stuff. I'm not making excuses. It clearly on me. So I've said, I'm just going to, take this, just change the dialogue and just do this. So I posted. Okay, fine. He writes another one responding to that like I knew he would, because his first RP was a direct response to mine, and CJ, that's his style. He reads yours and it's a direct response. That's his style for the most part. Match happens and I win. About a week later, I think Jono made it aware that of what I'd done, and I didn't lie about it. I said, yep, I did it. I was honest. I actually felt bad for doing it, but the way CJ went about it, DMs going, what the fuck did you do? We could have had a great story and you I'm serious. He went, he's saying I'm a fucking piece of trash and this and that for doing this. And, when he kept doing it, my sympathy for doing it, kind of slowly eroded away, because he would go on Boardwalk Radio, his radio, whatever radio station, saying I'm a cancer to this hobby, I need to be blacklisted and blah blah blah. Hell, Lee Best to please everybody, Boardwalk, like Michael Pettis went on and said, okay, CJ's the champion, the what happened does not count, our result, this and that, blah blah blah. Perry had to come on, write a post saying the referee that was in the match that made the deal was not the official referee because the other one was knocked out. This was the replacement and doesn't count. Lee Best brought me on a whore and made me apologize. And he publicly suspended me, just to kind of,
ease tensions.
Not just that, but to make sure he's doing something on his end.
Sure.
So I'm just like, okay, but that's all well, but he kept going on and on and on and on about it. And I'm not even responding back to him anymore. He's just keep this and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, fuck CJ, I'm just like, and then they tried to get cute, and they tried like Boardwalk. If Boardwalk would have asked me this, if Pettis would have came up and said, "Hey, you need to owe us for what you did," I would have been happy with this, because they used my character without asking me in their like that some battle royal, and basically. There was what had happened was I came down, they all jumped me in the match, and then they just threw me out, and I lasted about 5 seconds.
You were a gimmick, yeah.
If he would have asked me, I would have said, that's fine, that's fair.
Yep.
But I was still, like I said, even though I'm suspended, I'm still reading Boardwalk, 4CW, UTA. I'm still staff. Let me make this clear. I'm still staff at HOW. I'm still writing matches. I'm just not RPing for like 4 months. No, actually it was longer. It was supposed to be, I wasn't supposed to come back until after Rumble with the Rock. This was about 6 months. So Lee was like, you ain't RPing for like half a year. It was like in April, May, something like that. And I wasn't supposed to come out and Rumble on the Rock is October. So I wasn't supposed to come back until afterwards. But I was still doing the staff stuff. I was still writing matches. I wasn't doing stats because, I was just match writing. So I was writing, just no RPing.
Helping cover the load.
But I showed Lee this. I go, what the fuck? I said, did you give them permission to use my stuff? And he goes, nope. He goes, did they contact you? And I go, nope. And he goes, I'm going to call Pettis right the fuck now. And he hit up Pettis, and Pettis apologized, and he actually went back in the thing and wrote me out. He edited the results and took me out. And I told him, I said, dude, if you just asked, it would have been fine. I mean, I don't care. I mean, could have left me in there. It's fine, but just ask. But he's like, nah, man, I shouldn't. It's kind of, you did one bad thing and two bad things don't make a right. So,
yep. Well, that's good. Good on him for coming back and doing the right thing with it.
Yeah,
then.
I mean, let me just make it clear. I mean, I'm hating on Pettis, but Pettis is a good dude. He really is. He just let the inmates run the asylum. Let's just say that.
I have no ill will for my brief stint in Boardwalk Wrestling. As you know, and as many people who know me, I don't hold grudges in the game.
Well, let's just say he wasn't running it. It was his peeps that were running it.
The peeps.
Yeah, the inmates. They're the ones that were making the shots. Let's just say that.
Well, very good. Is there anything else you want to cover before we move on to the Twitter questions?
Nah, man. Whatever you have, we can talk about.
Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever been a Fed head or run a Fed other than Steph?
No, I have not. I honestly, I don't want the headache.
No
I have
desire.
no desire. If Lee Best said, "Hey, you're going to run the Fed for a week," no thanks. Go to Mike. Go to Scotty. Bring back America. They can run it. I don't want to run it.
You're out. You don't want the responsibility.
No.
I like it. Honest man. Good deal. See, I was trying to be nice and took one over, and
I mean,
I got it over my head.
Maybe, but I mean, with UTA, you did a pretty good job. I mean, you probably had more going on than you had time for, but I think your run.
That's what it came down to.
Yeah, I think your run as UTA Fed head was pretty good.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Well, very good. Let's get to these Twitter questions and the Discord questions.
Wonderful.
We got quite a few for you here. Let's see. Let's start on the Twitter.
Okay.
Up first, we got at JFK_Kendricks. Tagging with JFK was the best time of your life. Oh, I'm sorry. That was more of a statement.
Oh, okay.
How much do you miss tagging with JFK on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being so much, 10 being so much, and 5 being so much.
Well, how did Billy Bob say in Varsity Blues? A 10. A fucking 10. Because, hey, it's one of my main bros. I mean, if it wasn't Kendricks I was tagging with, it would be Mikey. But Mikey was too busy running UTA, so I had to tag with Kendricks.
Yes.
If the roles were reversed, it would be me and Mikey.
That's right. You're one of the only honorary bros.
Exactly. So, if it was me and Kendricks as tag champs or me and Mikey, it's all good.
It's all good. I like it. At Rick. He changed his username. Now it's like 3 R's, 5 I's, couple C's, and some K's.
He got what he couldn't spell ridiculous anymore.
Yeah, that's right. He got tired of trying to spell it. His question is your mom hot?
My mom's dead. She has passed away. She is in a better place.
Sorry, brother. I knew someday, somehow, some way, that was going to be an answer to that question.
But let me just tell you this: if she still was alive, you wouldn't be in her league.
Oh, great answer. Love that.
Even if you want to try the Katie Vick route, you're still out of your league.
You're still out of your league. You got to deal with Stuvens. Awesome. His second question, is she single? We know the answer to that already, so we're going to move on.
Yeah, she's very
past
single.
That awkwardness.
She's very single. Nah, man, it's cool. She's very single, Rick. I can introduce y'all. I mean, if that's
you know where she stays?
Hey, it's almost 2021, man. No judgment. If that's your thing, I'd love to call you a stepdaddy, but I told you you're out of her league. That's
the best answer. I mean, it's terrible, but it's the best answer we've gotten.
When she passed, it hurt, but she's in a better place. She's looking down on me. It's I tend to look at and celebrate her life. My mom.
There you go.
My mom was a fun person. She loved life, so that's how I choose to see it.
At Elijah Carlson, your time in 4CW wasn't as successful as some of your runs elsewhere. What do you attribute that to?
That is a great question. I even replied to that one. Time, man. I was trying, real life, but also I was trying something different with Stevens. I try to make him more methodical and more like a stalker person. I try to use the same twist on the character, but made it different when I went to OCW because I thought there was untapped material still there. It's just I didn't fully flesh it out in 4CW. I had to dip out because of time. But it ain't like I got no opportunities because when I first came in 4CW with Eli's talking about, my first feud was with him, and he was the 4CW world champion. And I mean, if you read the match, the scores were that close. I was, like inches from winning the championship. But I mean, 4CW had a ton of great writers. like Dakota Smith. I went toe to toe with him, but he's just so hard to fucking beat. A lot of people don't like Bronx, but I get along with Bronx. I mean, he gave me, I think it was the South Beach Brawl tournament. And it's kind of like the LBI, but he was defending his title, throughout the thing. And, in some cases, the LBI, the same thing happens, but I got a world title shot against him, but he whooped my ass. But I mean, I didn't expect nothing less because he was the champ. He had been on fire. He had basically been unbeatable since returning and winning that title. I fought basically almost every top, not just champion, whether it's for the title or top contenders or top champions, just in general non-title matches, before I had to step out. And, I won some, I lost some, but it is what it is, man. It ain't like I got, it ain't like I didn't get, no opportunities. It's just time. I mean, I love my time, even though it was short and it wasn't as successful. I still think that was an important part of, the evolution of the Stevens character and stuff like that.
Up next is At the E Wrestling, guys. Is winning the Bergman's Barn title a few weeks back after you cashed in the coupon in a crate your greatest win ever? And your defining moment of your long and illustrious career, asking for a friend.
No, JD, it is not the greatest moment of my career. I love JD.
What's the story behind that one?
For those that don't know, JD is the character who's run like Don McGill, Ray McAvey, recently Halitosis / Joe Bergman. In one of his RPs, he had Stevens in his RP, and Stevens won the title of this barnyard training facility that he has. But like he runs his own little angle fed with all his characters that Zion's a part of, and I've done stuff with them too. It's just, Stevens has been associated with MVW for a while, and he asked, "Hey, can I do this?" Because he likes adding Stevens when he can. I'm like, yeah, that's fun. I said, you can use him anytime. I don't care. But, but he's a good dude. He asked, and I said, yeah, that's fine. Go for it. I usually, when he does, he writes funny shit, and I just get a kick out of it.
Up next is 40 and Slip. What is your favorite statistic? Stevens math.
Hell no. Stevens math sucks. Math in general is terrible. I hate math. What's your
favorite Stevens statistic?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Sorry, Ford. Up next is BM Darren Matthews, big money, wants to know, what is your favorite storyline you've ever partaken in fedding? Or participated in fedding, sorry.
Ooh. Damn. There's been a bunch. I mean,
best storyline, best feud.
Best feud?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. What do you got?
I mean, if we're talking about like the best feud Stevens has had, it's got to be against Scotty Wood, because those two have clawed at each other, all the time. And if you're talking about wanting to face somebody forever, probably Mike Best, because our first one-on-one match took 5 years. If you're talking about, just guys you like facing, I like facing Max Kell. Max Kell, is a good dude. He tells you like it is. He gives you advice. And Max Kell's the guy. To me, he's basically the Chris Jericho of How, because he can be serious. He can be funny. He can just take anything and just turn it. He may lose a bunch right on, but guess what? Once he finds that foothold, he's going to be very hard to beat. I mean, I'm not saying anybody else. I mean, Mike can do that, but in my opinion, Max does it better. Max.
Shit, Max is one of the people I'm afraid to face.
Dude.
Don't let Lee hear this.
Lee, book him. LSD title match.
He's gonna book it. He's gonna book it right away.
On a pole. He's gonna put it on a pole too.
Put it on a pole.
With frappe on a pole.
Oh, Mikey might win that one.
But Max, like in the last part of the before we shut down, was a safety inspector. So he goes from safety inspector to the Lord General Dictator of North Korea, and he's friends with Kim Jong-un, and just it's just hilarious.
The new character is absolutely amazing.
It is, and it's same thing like Colin's evolved the Farthington character too. I mean, he's just gotten better. It's just seeing these guys, evolve their characters is awesome, because I every time Colin writes something, I get a kick out of it. It don't matter when he's UTA stuff, that or early HOW stuff to now, it's just hilarious.
Absolutely,
it is.
His Farthington stuff is so good. His stuff with Jack Hunter was so good. It's the briefcase and everything else that they were doing. It was all fun stuff.
What was it? I will go up to upwards of $14 or something like that.
I will go upwards of $14 to procure that case.
And Jack Hunter,
or maybe it was. I think it was $18.
Dude, Jack Hunter, I love the Jack Hunter character. Even though it was
so
a
amazing,
spoof, it was still hilarious.
I think that's what made it, was this fact that it was a spoof.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have looked at it like this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's like Skymont.
Awesome. Speaking of the best thing ever, up next is MS Better Than E1 Max Striker. 2 questions from Max Striker for you. First, if you're as good as you claim to be, why haven't I heard of you or faced you?
Okay. Oh, you
go ahead and answer that one.
Well, Max Striker, I've never heard of you until you flaked out.
If that is your real name.
It's probably a fucking troll account. I don't know. But all I know is the Max Striker that I've heard of, that I've never heard of before, flaked after he lost to Brian Hollywood. After he claimed he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think he even said
well, you see.
Yeah, I think he's the greatest. I think he said he was the greatest thing. I think he said he invented sliced bread or some bullshit. I don't know. I mean, if you're as truly good as you say, one loss ain't gonna, determine. I mean, look, man, I've lost more than some people in How. I think Kostoff's lost more than me because he's been there. But you know what? I've lost not as much as Kostoff, but close enough. But you know what? I'm still there. I didn't flake out. I show up. So
I like how you ended that with not as much as Kostoff.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kostoff's been there since day one. I mean, but I guarantee
whatever excuse you want to put out there,
hey,
he's gonna get you.
I guarantee Kostoff. I guarantee you, if Kostoff and me fought today, he'd probably whoop my ass.
There you go. Very good. Up next, his second question. Yeah. Why doesn't this pathetic Stevenspedia have history on Max Striker? If it was truly great, it'd have me, since I'm the best.
The best at flaking?
Great question.
The best at flaking or not showing up? Well, not RPing? What are you the best at? I mean,
he might be the super best.
But isn't he claiming he's better than Jack Hunter? But no one beats Jack Hunter because he's the undefeated #new streak.
The undefeatable.
Yes. It's just, if that's a real account, or, I'm not taking that account seriously, or that question. I mean,
no.
Dude, for one, if you're truly as good as you say, like I said, 1 RP, 1 loss, whatever, ain't going to determine anything. Your consistency, staying in a place, that's hard. If you lose to somebody, okay, find out what why you lost, and do something to make you better. If I've never heard of you, okay, fine. There's a lot of people I haven't heard of. There's people that I've heard of and say, oh, I know who that is, but I don't really know who they are. I've heard the name. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard of Mikey Unlikely. but how good is he outside of this place?
The Efed podcast.
Yeah. How good is he outside the Efed podcast?
Is he actually any good of a writer?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
just because you heard the name doesn't mean anything.
I mean, and you can spout, I've won 18,000 championships in HOW. Okay.
And they all do.
But
everybody says, "Oh, I'm an 18-time world champion at this place."
Well, yeah.
Cool.
Hey, let me just tell you this. I've won the HOW title twice, and it was difficult to do it. I'll tell you this. When it comes to accolades or matches in HOW, it is very hard to win. War Games, that's coming up, and I'm hyping the match since we're, War Games is very difficult to win because it all depends on your team, who you pick. Best example, Mike Best. Since I've been in HOW, he's finished 3 times as number 2, and he was the top scorer.
Damn.
Let me just tell you, he was the top scorer. But being the top scorer doesn't.
But his teammates,
scores. Scotty picked me. My first War Games, I should have been a War Games winner. We had a no-show, and that cost us.
Oh no!
We would have been co-winners.
A no-show on the main event.
Yep. But that's what War Games is. And this was the limit was 10, or it was down to 7. I don't know. I can't remember. But our guy, Reeves didn't have time. Shit happens. I told him, pick Solex. If he would have picked Solex only put up 2, but with Solex's 2, that would have pushed us over the top. It's just how it works out, man. It's just, and the world title is not a world title that's easily obtainable. I mean, Mike's won it 8 times, but look who he's had to go through. There's only been most people that have won in HOW have won it 2 or 3 times, but there's only less than 5 people that have won it more than that. And then there's,
it's pretty crazy.
Then the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame members pick the Hall of Fame people. They vote. It ain't just Scott Stevens, we're just throwing you in. It's because you've been here for 5 years. Yeah, you've been here for 18,000 years. No, that's not how it works. They have a nomination and they vote. If you don't get 7 votes, you don't go in. Some people don't even go in. Damn. It's like the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's very selective. You have to you got to hit the 7 votes. If you don't, there could be 5 nominations and 3 of them could have 6. They don't go in. No Hall of Fame that year.
Wow.
It's just, it is what it is.
Well, very good. Let's move on over to the Discord questions. Of course, you can check out the Discord over at the Efed podcast on Twitter. Right in the profile is the Discord link. Up first, we got Warren Fitz, 45. He wants to know, when you're finished with the hobby, what do you hope to have accomplished?
Damn. Okay. I don't know. Because, I don't think I will ever be finished with it because a lot of people say that. Then they get that itch. HOW could, end tomorrow. But if Lee Best hits me up in 5 years and go, hey, we're opening it up, I'm probably going to be there because it's the people that I've known for a long time. And, it's just that mentality of I want to be around these people because they're good dudes.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with wins, losses. I could, at this point, I could care less. I've won titles. I've been in Hall of Fames, and it's just I'd rather be around people that I know. If to answer the question, if it's me completely done, not just walking away, it's knowing that I have a lot of good friends that I could go, hey, Mikey, I'm up in, let's hang out. Hey, Mike, Lee, Scotty, Deacon, Ben, whatever, be like, hey, yeah, let's hang out. Let's do this. People that I could, hit up, hang out, call friends, not, and keep that friendship. Talk to him on a regular basis, because a lot of the stuff we have in common. Me and Lee love sports. We bet. We do this and that. Me and him, he's always hitting me up. How's your family? How are they doing? This and that. And I hit him up too. I mean, it's just like people like that.
As we're recording this podcast, I got a message on Discord. Hey, general wellness check. How are you? From Lee.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it just goes to show you what you're talking about.
Yeah. For people that don't know, son was sick. He was, he was real congested. It didn't seem like it was getting better, but we maybe being because it's our first, child, being overprotective, we didn't want to take any precautions, Sure. So we went to the COVID place because we had been trying to schedule a doctor's appointment, and it's been virtually hard. Doctors ain't really seeing anybody now. Probably different because everything's kind of opening back up depending on the states.
Yep.
But we went to one of those free COVID testings, and me, the wife, and our son got tested, and they all came back negative. However, I had a positive test for some kind of respiratory deal. They call me back. I call them back. They're like, yeah, call us, let us know, text us in the app message and we'll call you back. Never got a call back. So I'm just like, if it's that important, you will call me. If it's when I hear respiratory, I'm thinking can't breathe, having trouble breathing or shortness. I'm having none of that. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm susceptible to stuff because of allergies or whatever, but I feel fine, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, very good. So Judge Megan's up next, our old friend from Wrestle UTA. Mm-hmm. What is your proudest moment in the game?
Mike's probably like, defeating me for the HOW title. I mean, that's a good one, but I still lean to my first Icon Championship win in HOW. When I defeated Sector. No, my second. That was my second. Sorry. Because I was champion, he beat me, and when he came back in, he was undefeated, just destroying everybody. New character, new drive, new everything. Like Colin is now. Unbeatable. But I worked my ass off, and I beat him. And I was like, and that was his first defeat he had since coming back to HOW. And I consider that as like, okay, I've made it. I've beaten a guy who's been a champion. I'm beating a guy who's not just a top champion, but he's also always in main events and one of the top riders. I've beaten him. I can hang with him now. I think it's where I started opening some eyes of certain riders, because let's be honest, in Feds, there's levels. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's guys that are.
I had this conversation the other day.
Yeah, there's always guys that are going to be in the main event because they're that good. There's some guys that are going to be in the upper mid card and flirt with it all the time, because not just to diminish their talents, they're good, but they're not better than, say, this guy or that guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just they may get a shot and they may, win the championship because they were better that day, but they may not have the same longevity to hold said championship, or you know what I mean?
Or have a great reign. Yep.
But mine would have to be the second Icon Championship win against John Sector.
That's when you felt you jumped that level.
And then, because even though I won the world title twice, it took a while. It really did. I mean, you got to understand, this was like in late 2015, and I had been in HOW since 2012. So it took a long time. And when I won it,
no doubt,
I won it at Rumble with the Rock. It was against Max, it was against Chase, it was against Tara, it was against Hollywood.
Megan's second question is, what do you think of the current state of Efedding?
Is there still backstabbing? Is there still little bitches? Is there still, people that, piss and moan, and like a Max Striker or a Chance Von Crank or a CJ O'Donnell? Yeah, there's still people like that. But I think from then and now is that if you have a good, strong Fed head, that shit doesn't fly. If you have a strong Fed head, all that animosity and all that stuff goes away. That's how HOWs lasted. That's how 4CW, UTA, Defiance. That's how all they've lasted.
So basically, it's the same as it was then, but it just depends
on where. It just depends on who's in charge. Because if you let, like I said, the inmates run the asylum, that's a toxic environment. It really is. I mean, you can say HOW is this and that, but guess what? If you're in HOW, it's different. Because, if Lee didn't care about me, if Mike or Scotty, like in the Discord, when I told y'all what was going on, y'all send me well wishes all the time. You're asking me, how's the family? How are y'all doing and stuff like that. If y'all didn't really care, y'all wouldn't be saying that.
100%.
So I think it's in a better place. It just depends on where it is and who's in charge.
Up next is Seth is Burns. Please tell me where I can bill your chiropractor because of me carrying you on my back for so long in Defiance.
Oh, all right, asshole. Seth is so full of shit. He knows it.
He has another part of the question. And to the serious portion of this, what's the most fun you've had with Scott Stevens?
Oh, man, man, it's just so... I've had a ton of fun. I mean, my stuff when I came in with UTA to Defiance has been fun. I mean, working with Seth has been fun. We haven't worked in a good while. And I think if me and Seth hooked up again, it'll just, spark magic like nothing is missing, no rust, no nothing. Like when me and you hook up and we work together, it's instant communication. It's like, it just goes.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's not a chore.
I mean, I'm working with Billy right now, and it's going smoothly. I mean, I've never worked with him before, and first time, it's just going. When I was with Kendricks, I mean, Kendricks was when he worked with me, it was mainly as a transition thing, but it was still but when he got to the singles thing, and it was easy. But in HOW, it's not really the one thing. It's just the people. You know what I mean? I mean, outside of some of the stuff that has happened with Stevens or different things, it's just the people working with him. I mean, I'm undefeated against Reese Townsend, but that's not taken away from Townsend because I'm good friends with Townsend. I like Townsend. Townsend's a good dude. It's just something about Townsend is, he's one of the best. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He writes his stuff and it's spot on. Let me make this, when he's taking it seriously, when he's there taking it seriously, he's a dominant force. And, it's just that brings something out of you, writing wise, because I'm like, man, I'm undefeated against him. I can't lose to him because I got to keep that going. But I don't know, man. It's just hard to choose because I loved the one thing I did love was in UTA, the whole on vacation thing. And then
yes.
Yeah, remember that?
You do all your role plays from different beaches.
Yes. Well, it was kind of like a running gimmick because Ben was like, okay, just tell me when you want to RP. I said, oh, okay, I can, I'm free for the next couple of weeks, but he only booked me like once. And I was like, I hit him up and I go, dude, did you forget about me? He goes, no, man, I thought you were busy in how? And I go, no, I said I could do it for the next couple of months. I'm free. So it came like a running joke, the on vacation. So I took it, but I think I had to, he talked to me because I don't know if you talked to him or not, but I was kind of parroting, you were doing your Hollywood tour with Mikey as what was it, like Rambo or Indiana Jones, and I kind of parried that.
Mikey McFly.
Yeah. I think I kind of paired that, and you with the whole yeah, I think I did one with Raiders of no Temple. It was Temple of Doom with the boulder and all that. And I think he got onto me saying, this is like Mikey. You can't do that. That's his thing. I said, okay, that's fine. It was no ill will, but I was just, running with it. I'm on vacation from this remote jungle location.
It worked out well. And it's funny you say that, because that's how my Hollywood gimmick got started, was just Ben came up with an excuse for me to take some time off. He said, Mike, he's been cast in a movie, and I just took it and ran. So same situation. That's what UTA was good for. Ben would just put you in a position, and you could just take it and run.
And I mean, my the whole thing where I'm berating Seth and you as the whole fake Fist of Defiance champion. You're not the real champion. And when I did the whole make the fist great again, it was stupid and cornish. And you're like, what the fuck is Steven? Because some people when Hal hit me up and they go, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, dude, it's so over the top. It's cornballish, just jokingly. It's funny. I'm like, well,
it is
that's
funny.
not how I'm like, I know, but it's different. This isn't HOW Stevens. This is this. I mean, to me, I'm having a blast. If people think it's stupid, I'm like, it is what it is. It ain't hurting me. I thought it was.
I think it's great. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a fun storyline. It's completely different. The whole make the fist great again is such a fun angle.
Make the fist great again was like kind of like a continuation of the vote for Stevens, which was like a poor received deal in HOW because their whole thing was, well, what are you voting for? What are you campaigning? I said, I don't know. I'll get back to you. And I was just like, vote for Stevens and this and that. I'm like, well, what do you, it was just like, I don't know, but it's a whole, they go, well, at least it's not as bad as the vote. I'm like, oh, okay. But at least this, I could do something. I mean, and now, with the current deal is I'm taking the Ace of Defiance Championship, where it's a title that can't be defended technically, and I'm defending against the whole world. I'm traveling the world defending it, and to prove that I am the true Fist, I said, if Mikey wants to be the true Fist, the undefeated Fist, the guy who didn't even lose it, who didn't get pinned, he can face me, but he'd rather be face Lindsey Troy. So I'm defending the real world title. So I'm off doing that. So it's been fun. I mean, it's just different things. I mean, I've been in so many different feds, it's just hard to choose one. I mean, even though the stupidest things I've done are some of the most fun.
Awesome. Up next is Crimson Scott, our good friend Scott, Crimson Lord. Yep. Will you be putting all of your titles you won during your tour, along with the Ace of Defiance, up against Matt LaCroix and Max Def from the Defiant?
To answer, well, technically the Ace of Defiance cannot be defended according to, the rules of it. You got to hype it up. But no, I will not be defending my Ace of Defiance championship against Maxwell or any of the other championships that I've won, because why would I want some bottom feeder and brazen, challenging for titles that I've won? What has he been doing? Coming to the ring, beating up Steven's family members? I mean, what has he done? He hasn't done a damn thing. So what has he earned? Nothing.
There you have it, straight from the horse's mouth. His second question is, who would your dream match be against?
Oh man, I mean,
Is there one you haven't had already?
I mean, the only person I could think of would be Dave Dexter, but he's long gone.
At Percival Conrad Prince, what's stopping you from signing with HWA?
I guess because I'm in Defiance and How. I guess so.
The HWA it's a 2K fed.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't come up with me. You didn't come at me with a large sum of money, so just
there you go. That's what it takes. A little cash under the table.
I mean, I'm in my twilight years. You got to pay me. It's basically name recognition. Come on.
Up next is hashtag Still Pete for Frappes. Do you have a wish list of people you'd like to work with that you never have? Or for simplicity's sake, say 3 from Defiance, 3 from High Octane.
I don't know, man. I've worked pretty much with everybody.
Yep.
I mean, so it's kind of like I've worked with almost everybody in Defiance and How, and if I haven't worked with them in one or the other, it's been vice versa. So I
think that's what you're at this point is what you're doing with Scott Stevens is you're doing all the dream tour.
Yeah, I mean, I may be not facing MJ Flair, but I'm facing your other character. So it's basically me versus Pete, or but if I want to face if I had to choose maybe some people from the golden era of How that were the original Hall of Famers, or like a Christopher America, coming back for a good run, not just for like a one match off, maybe him, because I never really faced America unless it was like in a War Games or a tag match or something. But but like you said, it's the dream tour. I pretty much am facing everybody.
Absolutely, and why not? If you've accomplished everything else.
I know one person. I don't think we faced each other. Jason Cash. Definitely, probably Jason Cash. I love Jason Cash, but I don't think we've faced each other before in 4CW.
There you have it. Up next is D. Brunk. Are you willing to work with someone who has no place in this hobby?
Yeah, I work with him all the time. He's our world champion.
Oh, dropping bombs on Colin. Speaking of Colin, his question's up next. Why? And he says, that's my whole question. Thank you. I will hang up and listen back for the response.
Because Lee tells me I have to.
Gotta love Colin. Thanks for participating, Colin.
Colin's a good dude.
He is. Up next is Queen OG Linz. How many women does Stevens have in his binder full of women wrestlers that only he cares about?
It's a short list. It really is. There's a lot of women wrestlers out nowadays, but when I first started, it was a bunch of dudes. And the first woman that I saw that was really good was Blaze Martel. She had a sister handled by the same character, Chase Martel, and she retired Blaze. Chase became better than her, but the reason why those two caught my eye is because it was a woman basically in a man's hobby, and she was out riding the dudes and winning. This was a time before intergender matches. She was beating dudes for the world championship and other titles, and it wasn't even close. And these were in good feds too. And then you have like people like Bob and Carey, who had same success in HOW, Hall of Famer, multiple time champion, and world tag, whatever. You had people that rebuilt their careers like a Tara Michaels, who went from kind of like doing nothing and living in Jace's shadow to being the world champion and a dominant champion. It took a while, but she finally found her niche. You have people like Genevieve Carlson, in 4CW, Eli's wife. She had a dominant, steady run in 4CW, winning things and stuff like that. It's just, it just depends.
Is Lindsay Troy in this binder of women's wrestlers?
Absolutely. I mean, who has had a long, outside of the people that I know of, everybody knows who Lindsay Troy is.
I mean, right after Marie Van Claudio, she's up there as one of the top women's wrestlers.
Yes.
Sorry, Linz, that one's for you.
I know. Yeah. But I mean, everybody knows who Lindsay Troy is. You say the name, they're like, oh, Lindsay, yeah, we know her. She may not have been in our Fed, but we know who she is. Same thing with Bob and Carey. If your name is mentioned and carries throughout multiple Feds, you may not even have to be in a Fed, but they know who you are. That says enough.
There you go. Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Alrighty, up next is at D. Brunk again. He's got 2 questions. What taqueria on the east side of Houston has the best barbecue and or menudo?
Oh,
I believe Brunk is on the west side.
I'm on the east side. I would have to hit up the wife because there's a few different ones we go to. But for Menudo, she would know better than I would. But barbecue, it wouldn't be a taqueria, but barbecue, there's there's what is it? It's Tony's Barbecue. There's the one in Cloverleaf that escapes my mind right now. But it's really good. But for Menudo, I'd have to ask the wife because she's the big Menudo eater.
There you go. I have no idea, but I do want to give a shout out to the truck stop in Dallas because that place is amazing. Good stuff. All right. Very good. Stevens, Justin, before we go, is there anything else you want to plug? Anything else you want to put over? Anything else you want to say?
Yes. Go to Twitter, check out Stevenspedia. The official, for all e-wrestling encyclopedia. If you have old feds you want me to pimp out there, that's fine. I just need a link to the website. If you can, if you have one, if you have old cards saved, please send them my way. J-Man at jman2k3@gmail.com. That's, send them to me. I'll do it. It's just, I love classic e-wrestling. I try to go back and find some of my old feds and I post them. I found FWO, the original FWF, all this other stuff. I have a ton of stuff and it's just scratching the surface. I'm trying to talk to other people to post on there and we'll see, check out HOWrestling.com, DefianceWrestling.com, Efed podcast, sending that, because, Mikey's one of my main bros, got to show him some love. So check him out, AtomicDropcast.com.
There it is.
Yeah. But yeah, just, that's pretty much it. I mean, if you know me, you know where I'm at. You know my Twitter, Survive This Thing. It's on Twitter. Stevenspedia. It's on, y'all know where I'm at. If you know me, you know where I'm at. I'm not hard to find. If you don't like me, hit me up. I don't really care.
Very good. We need to hook you up with We Are Splat because you guys are both doing the archived Efed stuff. So that's good stuff.
Okay.
Good deal. All right, Justin, thanks so much for taking the time coming on and doing the interview. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to having you on for more stuff in the future.
Yeah, let me know, man. I'll be happy to come back on.
All right, guys. For Justin, I'm Mikey. Thanks for listening. That's going to wrap us up for another great edition of the Efed podcast. I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors, DefianceWrestling.com. If you're looking for a great angle fed, check out DefianceWrestling.com. If you're looking for a good RP fed, EWC, the number 4 life.com. Want to thank Modern Day Gladiators Games and Warren for supporting the show. Check them out if you're into tabletop games. They made a wrestling tabletop game that I'm excited to try later this year. And everybody else who supports the show. Really appreciate it. All right, guys, for Brian, I'm Mikey. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out the Patreon over at patreon.com/EFED podcast. Really appreciate your support over there, as well as here, listening each and every week, here on the Efed podcast, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
Free on Patreon.